Hi, everybody. It's a wee bit of alchemy. I'm Rick Barrett. Welcome. Last week in a class, question arose about shoulder tension, and I think of people who've been doing Tai Chi and stuff like that for a long time and still have that the creeping shoulders and the tendency to go to shoulder tension, and so we talked about how to change the program on that. And the essential problem with people who tend to tense up their shoulders or react with their shoulders first is that is how we are programmed pretty much as humans, as far as I can tell. And that is, yeah, that is, it's a pre-conscious response. So even if you've been doing your Tai Chi diligently for decades, and you can get that relaxed place in your form, then whenever we take it out of that familiar context, then it kicks back in again. That's because it's something that is deeply embedded in our nervous systems. It's something that we've been doing our pretty much our whole lives is getting that as our first response. And my theory is that it's something that from early childhood, at least, at the very least, there's those are the strong muscles, and anything you're doing is going to require a whole effort from the body, initiating from the shoulders, and that the arm muscles get built up slowly over the years. But that initial impulse to react with the shoulder muscles first is deeply embedded, and so you can. If you ask somebody to lift something heavy, more often than not, they're going to tense up the shoulders first, just as a pre-conscious response. So if you want to change that behavior, which is really important for Taijiquan, because shoulder tension blocks your qi in a big way. So if you want to change that behavior and be able to initiate movement with your arms, with your hands, without necessarily tensing up your shoulders first, there is a need to reprogram your system so that your body mind gets a different idea about how to initiate action. And that is to start with your distal points rather than the local points, rather than the shoulders. We're talking about your hands, your wrists, your elbows, and specifically what I want to talk about today is using your elbows to unlock your shoulders. And so what this does is actually opens the floodgates in your shoulders, and it's one of the things we do in our uh, three pillars warm up. We get the elbows, reach with the elbows, and open up the shoulders. That's something that if you're just doing it, automatically, or you're doing it habitually, you may not actually get the full benefit of engaging this elbow chin. I call it a chin because chin is whenever you're using your body to express chi directed by your mind. So it creates this internal power, and so whenever we create this, whenever we activate this elbow chin, it does something rather remarkable, and but your body has to experience it over and over again in order to be able to reprogram itself to say, no, that's a better way. And so the getting the idea of it is one thing, but to actually embody it, that's something else. And this is a topic which I've talked about in this space previously, and I actually wrote a three-part blog series on this 5 years ago. I highly recommend checking it out because I looked at it today, and there's a lot of detail in that I won't be able to get to in this space. I want to get more into the actual doing of it. But there's a lot of a lot that I wrote about in those three articles that give it some more depth and more understanding. Um, the I like to think of it as one of the eight gates of Tai Chi, the Bamen. They're eight gates, eight energy gates of Bamen of Tai Chi that are are written about in the classics, and they are the ways of actually opening up these intrinsic energies in the body. And familiar ones are where we have the ward off energy, the Pong Jin, the ward off energy, the Liu Jin, which is rollback, Ji, which is press and push. That's the On Jin, and so those we've covered those before, and each of them has their own distinct quality to it. So these jins are pretty much an infinite number of possible jins, but they're common ones that are kind of elevated and say, no, when you're doing Taijiquan, these are the key ones that we want to do. And then there are lots of possible variations off of those elementary ones. So those four are the fundamental ones, and then we have four secondary ones, which are splitting energy, and we have pluck, which is to an abrupt kind of interruption of flow and creates this disturbance. Then we have Zhou, which is the elbow jin, and Ko, which is the shoulder jin. And the way people translate these Bamen, the energy gates, oftentimes they talk about it from the doing, from the exterior idea. So they think of Pong as being the actual act of warding off in that posture, or G where you're pressing, and with Joe that they think of it as an elbow strike, and Ko as a shoulder strike, and that is not wrong. It's but it is the outside. It's the substantial aspect of understanding these gates. So the inside is what I want to look at, particularly as regards to Jojin today, elbow. Hold on one second. I just had something written down that this is from the Song of the Bamen, the Song of the Eight Gates. It describing the elbow chin is like, if its motion is connected and unbroken, nothing can oppose its strength. Its functional use is unlimited. And so I think like, okay, so when I read that, it's like, okay, this is much more than just smacking somebody with your elbow. There's something, if its functional use is unlimited, that means it's opening up more. It's opening up a lot of different possibilities. And that kind of led me to explore into what else could this mean. There's another thing here that says, this is regarding Jin. If we through the experience of the touch, one can gradually comprehend and understand Jin. Through understanding Jin, one can reach divine-like clarity. And this happens a lot in the Taiji classics, where they talk about this raising the spirit or spiritual illumination through understanding Jin. And so by getting this moving away from just this external understanding of these things as just body shapes or body movements, and thinking of it in terms of Jin, thinking in terms of how we're using energy, we are moving in the direction of the spiritual aspect of Taijiquan. So so with this Joe, this is elbow gin. What happens is that whenever you activate it, you then open up your shoulder joint, and and so and when you do that, then you disconnect or clear an obstacle to the free flow of energy. There's something called the nine channeled pearl, which is just a picturesque way of talking about getting the chi, threading the chi through your joints, and they're thinking in terms of nine joints there, and getting the chi so it's unbroken. But if there's muscular tension in your shoulders, there is a break there, and consequently, your ability to express chin with the rest of your body is diminished dramatically. What I call kinking the hose, and so well, a very simple way of opening up this shoulder joint, and then also dramatically amplifying your effective power, your internal power, your chin, comes from using your elbows. And so we have discussed this before, and we will again, but it's enough time has elapsed now. I'd like to actually go back into it and actually explore that, so that it really becomes a thing that we can feel. We want to get into this really feel the body, feel the energy as we're doing this. So the idea with this elbow gin, we use two ideas that we talked about in the last class. One is sung, which is releasing muscular tension so that you are trusting the intrinsic structure of your body to do the work, particularly your connective tissue system. And so you're letting go of muscular tension so that you can then trust your connective tissue system to guide your chi and express the chin. So the other one is reaching, or feng, F-E-N-G. So reaching, extending so as to touch. That's the way I think of reaching. And that is so that you're not pushing away, you're actually want to reach out and touch something. And so so keeping those two ideas in mind. One is releasing tension, but that in and of itself is not going to get you very far. What you need is this. So that's like the yin aspect. It's the collecting into a space of quietude, whereas the yang aspect is the feng, the reaching. So it's an extension. So we're opening up there. So we get these two together, and that creates a fertile ground for the jin to occur. So let's stand up, and I'll guide you through some of this stuff with the elbow jin. Okay, step out. Nice, comfortable hip width stance. We're going to begin with our three pillars. To generate some chi flow, establish our connection to the big chi. So begin with your weight in your heels, knees are unlocked. Feel yourself getting very sung. So you're sinking down into your legs, through your feet and into the earth. Feel yourself, with each breath, find yourself releasing a little more. So you're letting go and letting go of the need to push away from the earth, and just feel into your structure. Notice that your body is doing just fine standing up without a lot of work. reach for the crown of your head, tuck in your chin, and open the jade pillow gate. So we're extending upward now. So we're sinking down very soon, and we're reaching upward, Feng, with the crown of the head. So reaching and opening up to the yang qi of the heavens. As we extend down, we're opening the gates in the feet, to allow that earth chi to rise. Relax your lower back and drop your sacrum. Point your index fingers and feel your energetic coherence. Feel your whole body connecting up into a unified whole. Spiral down, to the left, to the right. You're releasing the hip joints. So nice and easy, very soft, so that you're just relaxing and not just rotating, but there's kind of a spiral. You're sinking down as you do that. And now we're going to reach slightly with the elbows and open up the shoulder joints. Notice immediately there's a feeling in your hands. You may experience it as a rush of energy into your hands. So just starting here. So if we start at a really gross level, there is something called the superhero posture. And there was a Harvard psychologist did a study on this. And if you put your hands on your hips like this, you reach up to the crown of your head and you open your shoulders and just feel that and just hold that for, they say 2 minutes. But what happens if people hold this for 2 minutes? There is a dramatic change in their state of being at a physiological level. Cortisol levels drop, so indicating a reduction of stress. And there are other hormones that neuropeptides that are neurotransmitters rather that are generated by this. Your testosterone increases, which gives gives you an energy boost. It gives you so there's more of an expansive quality there. So, but you're just holding this, breathe, and just feel into that. And so this is at a very gross level here. And it's something that, even at this level of participation, big effects can be produced. They, did tests on this with people before going in for an interview or giving a speech or something like that. They go into this posture and they have this very positive response for the feeling of empowerment that this gives them. So we're going to take this really kind of superficial approach, and we're going to now make it a lot more insubstantial, a lot more subtle. So let's let go, and first of all, just check in and just feel into your hands, your body. Just feel the energy that's circulating now, and feel that expansiveness, that yang qi that's kind of is expressing itself in your body. So now, rather than doing the whole 9 yards there, we're just going to just let your arm just hang for a moment and just take a snapshot of that. And then reach out with your elbows slightly. Your arms are still hanging, but you're reaching, extending with out to the side with your elbows. And just notice the difference between that and this. Notice how the energy just kind of collapses when your arms drop like that. Whereas whenever you take that shape, you're just reaching slightly with the elbows. And we're not going full superhero. We're just doing that. Point your index fingers and just feel how that it's just an empowering posture to be in. Uh, yeah, so we see that there's something happens just by that gentle reaching with the elbows, and that's this is a good place to start. But we want to now take it a step further so that, let's say we in the last class we did here, we did a thing with Sung where you reach over, grab your wrist, and lift your hand up like that, and just let your arm hang. So we want just this is just pure Sung here, so that if you release your arm, it just drops, right? So we grab it, pick it up. So we want to get it so it's completely relaxed. That's like, we're really letting go. And so here we want to now point the index finger and feel that shape. Okay, so that we have, and just releasing your hand on the wrist so that very gently you're allowing the arm to take over so that it's supporting itself, but with absolute minimum amount of effort, absolute minimum amount of muscular tension involved. And so what we did here, and we'll do it again, is to now take your hand and just take a finger and just press down on that as you point with your index finger. And notice that, you're then able to adjust the amount of effort that you need from your arm to hold that shape. And you can then adjust the amount of effort so that you don't have to use any more. Now we're going to take this and we're going to do something different. Keep your arm against your body like this and put your hand under your elbow. You're just touching your elbow. Now, very gently, kind of press down. Get your fingers with your elbow, as if you're reaching to touch your hand with your elbow. And notice when you do that, you're opening up the shoulder joint. And then release that, just feel that, and then just do that again. Feel that, and just press down with your elbow, and notice that you're opening up, you're creating space, actual space there in the shoulder joint without using a lot, actually any shoulder tension as you're doing that. You're just opening the arm, opening the shoulder joint when you do that. So you're not pushing, you're just kind of reaching a little bit. So go back to just release that and just let your arm drop here. And so now we're going to do a little something with it. We're going to pick up your arm, hold it in front of your chest, but a little bit like that. So it's hanging out there. And so push down on your arm without pointing your finger, without activating your elbow joint, and just get a feeling of what it takes to resist that downward push when it's done as a purely muscular action, right? You want to You want to feel how much effort it takes when you're using your shoulder to lift your hand, right? So just notice what that takes, and just notice that the downward push from your other arm is generally stronger than the upward thrust of the of this arm. So now you're going to then reach down with your elbow. Feel that? You can feel it with your finger there, reaching down, and now press down, and notice how little effort it takes to ward off that downward push once you activate that elbow chin. And then disconnect that, just empty that out, and do it again, and just check it again, just using muscle, and just notice what it takes to do that, and then feel that, reach with the elbow, reach down to the elbow, and then notice that you have this internal power immediately kicks in. This is your chin. It's activated just by reaching with your elbow. So if you take the elbow and you reach with it, and then you want to say you're grabbing the wrist and so just let it go, and just try grabbing your wrist as hard as you can, and then try to turn your forearm using your muscles, and just notice how difficult that is, and then reach down with your elbow and then grab it, point your index finger, and then notice that it becomes very easy to just to rotate your forearm, but you're rotating from the elbow. People have a very almost universal tendency to, whenever you do that without instruction, is to try to tense up the shoulder first, and then they make a bit of a hash of it because they can't. The chi is blocked there. But if you set the elbow, you reach with the elbow, set that, you point, and then you rotate it, there is this power. Going back to just reach with the elbow, down with the elbow, press down, and now we've been testing it, self-testing, but it's still kind of testing it by its effect on the challenge to the arm. So now I want you to just let that go, and now just feel into it. And this is what we're looking for here: is what's that insubstantial feeling of that? What's that feeling of the chin? So that you can recognize that without somebody or even yourself giving you resistance. You can just say, oh, okay, that's what it feels like to open up my shoulder joint and feel that elbow chin. Okay, and then let your arm come down and do it with the other hand, and just reach out and grab, and then feel that get very soon point, and reach down with your elbow and press down, and just notice how much internal power you're able to generate very simply. And then let that go. And now feel the insubstantial quality of that. So you know that when you feel that chin there, that you test it out, it's going to be strong. You're going to have that internal power. And as you develop this, you get more and more confident in your ability to do that. And then you bring your arms down. And just feel into your arms. Feel that insubstantial quality there. And Now here, you're going to just reach slightly with your elbows, just enough so you can actually feel your shoulder joints, feel the opening there of your shoulder joints as you reach with the elbows. Notice what I'm not doing is this. I'm not lifting, or pushing them forward or pushing them back. I'm just opening. This is a quiet way of getting started. And just to explain that you can do it in any of those other positions. If my arm is here and I want to open my shoulder joint, I just reach with my elbow, and I can do it forward, I can do it backward, I can do it above my head. But it's first thing first is to just get that internal sense of that insubstantiality there. Like, what does that feel like? That it's more of a nothingness than a somethingness. But it's extremely powerful when combined with the somethingness of your body. Now let's take this and look at it in some Tai Chi postures. Let's begin with, say, a ward off, like with the left hand. So you put your left foot forward and your right foot is back. You put about 70% of your weight in your front leg for now. And just bring your left arm up in front of you, and just using your muscles, just notice how difficult it is to ward off, right? And so you want to feel that. Now, feel that elbow and just reach with the elbow and try the same thing. Helps to also point so that you're reaching with the elbow and you're pointing with your index finger, and just notice the power that you're able to generate with that forearm now. You'll feel it. If you're doing it correctly, you're going to feel it across your back, and you're going to between your shoulder blades. You're going to feel that a constant pressure there, and it's going to go down, and you're going to feel it in your feet. And let that go. Just for comparison, bring your left arm up and press in and just feel it with the muscular tension, and notice that you're not feeling it in your feet, and you're not feeling it in the middle of your back. You're feeling it primarily, in the short muscles in your shoulders and arm, and then immediately just reach with that elbow, open that up a little bit, and you immediately get the chin. So it's internal power on demand. And step out with your right foot and do the same thing here. You're bringing that right arm up. You're feeling that muscular tension. Feel how difficult that is, and then reach with your elbow. Open the shoulder joint with your index finger, and just feel the internal power, that connection. Reach, and you reach actually with both elbows, and that'll give you even more power. And it's something that you can also do if you just want to touch something. Reach with your elbow and touch something like this, and then you actually, it works better if you have somebody working with you on this. But if you just reach out with either elbow, and you're going to activate that elbow chin. Another posture, it would be to, let's say, a white crane posture. So when you have, your weight is in your back foot, and you reach up, but this arm, as a pure muscular thing, is not very strong. But if you point, you reach with your elbow, and actually reach with either elbow or both elbows. And just feel the expansive yang power that pervades the whole system. There's also that yin that keeps you rooted and provides your structure. But just feel that the energy that gets generated by reaching with your elbows. And bring that down. Use the other hand and reach with your elbows. Good. And bring that down. We're just standing back to our three pillars, and we activate that elbow chin. Point and reach with your index fingers. So this has tremendous healing potential. I've been talking about it here mainly in terms of internal power. And if we can think about that in a martial context, but it also has a tremendous healing power. You reach with your elbows and it generates a tremendous amount of internal energy, which you can then feel it circulating throughout. And this removes a major impediment for feeling that energy circulation. Then go into the balls of the feet. Press down with the big toes. Reach with your wrists. Reach with your elbows. And round your arms as if you're creating a big ball there. Just feel reaching with the elbows so feel your back opening up. And here there's the energy, the chin is actually moving in several directions here. One is that there's an expansiveness, as though you're blowing up a balloon. And in that expansiveness, there's also each point along the way, as if you have this is the circumference of a circle, you have rays that are coming out from that and pointing in different directions. And your Master Yang calls this Chong and Jun. And the both there. So each point on the circumference there has an arrow that's directing outward. So that's the yang expansive part. There's also a yin contractive part. That is you're compressing the ball. You reach with those elbows and you're compressing the ball at the same time as you're expanding. You're feeling both the yin and yang impulse simultaneously. You can also feel the lifting, the arms raising and pressing down as well. And just feel it's a very simple standing meditation, and you don't have to do it very long. You can do it for 30 seconds and get a big boost. Or you can do it several minutes. But just feel that and retreat the elbows, just relax that and just forget that for a moment and then do it again. Just reestablish that, and just feel that like with each breath, each inhale, you just open and reach with the elbows again. Feel that that expansiveness there, and as you exhale, just let that go and relax that. And then inhale, reach again, and exhale, let that go. Feel the yin, and now inhale, yang. Open your back, and exhale, yin. Yeah. And then kick your heels and press down. Feel the yin. Down, down, down. Here, allow the sung to be the dominant voice in the conversation. You're still reaching with the crown, but it's 80% sung and 20% hong. Just feel the density there, the chi. Step in, fold your feet, press down with the toes, inhale, yang, expansive, reach with your elbows, and then exhale, yin, and reach down with your elbows, down with your wrist, and throw away the chi. Please have a seat.
You apparently fixed this lesson just for me. Because I was talking with my occupational therapist today, and you all know, and other people out there know, I mangled my hand earlier this summer, and I've been working on getting more mobility, and it involves, pushing the hand down with the other hand and all that. And I said to her, I keep finding myself using my shoulders when I'm doing this, which isn't useful. And as soon as I did the pointing, the elbow and the point and reach, but reach with the elbow and keep the pointing going. The whole connection there was so powerful. Like I, as soon as I move it, my elbow or think my elbow, I feel it in my finger, and as soon as I think the finger, I feel it in my elbow, and I don't even have shoulders.
Wonderful.
This solution.
That's great.
Some shoulders.
Yeah.
Well, I'll keep them for my, shirts and things.
Well,
Yeah.
while we're here, I mean, I expected to be able to, I expected to fool myself, but I was pleasantly surprised to find that it's hard to fool yourself, when it
You have
works.
to work at it.
And yeah, right. And when it doesn't, it just doesn't. Yeah, that's cool.
Wonderful. Valerie.
Yeah, well, I felt just like Lynn, you picked this just for me today. Well, no, we're sharing. And it seems like never mind. It was there's nothing new. I felt like there's nothing new, but it was brand new at the same time. It was I think, I don't know, my own personal growth, and being able to feel these things better. And when we were holding the posture, and applying pressure, I could feel that dang shoulder wanting to engage. And it was like, no, you can just relax, you can stay down. But there was, because you talked about it, that's how we're built. That's what we come with. And, just being conscious that my shoulder wanted to engage and giving it permission to not engage, and then feel it creeping up a little bit, and then just letting it relax again. And like Lynn was saying, the feeling is so dramatic, just so dramatic. So as easy as this sounds, and as like impossible as it may sound, no, it's real. It's real. I was talking about in a class I was teaching today, I was talking about the shoulders and how, just notice when you're driving how, I could swear to God, notice my shoulders every 15 seconds and they'll be up, and it's like just being conscious of letting them go. And then they just go back up. But staying on that, being diligent about it and feeling that, our propensity to just, go up, up, up. So this is, pardon me?
You actually popped your shoulder when you did
Yeah,
that.
I know. It's thrilling, it's really thrilling to feel this, to feel it. And yet, yeah, you have to be there, you have to be present, you have to feel it.
Beautiful.
Go beyond words.
To your point there, I actually brought up something like the, it's like I have found that it is much more helpful to tell my body to do something rather than to not do something.
Mm.
So rather, hey, shoulders, don't go up like this. It'll do it while I'm talking to it, and then as soon as my back's turned, it sticks its tongue out and says, I'm going to do it anyway. But if we replace it with a doing, like no, it's not. This is do this. Reach with your elbows. Then it's like it's a whole different ball game.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan, you're on mute.
You're on mute, Stan.
He knows that he's trying to unmute.
I know, but I miss
So, okay,
Can't pass up.
here we are. No. So, yeah, I mean, it's like the elbow's like the middle child between the hand and the shoulder and gets ignored. And it's like, again, I'm looking for more and more Tai Chi while you're watching television stuff. But it's like, it's almost now every time you move your finger, it's like, hey, does the elbow know what you're doing? Do you know where your elbow is now as you're moving? It's like 1,000 times a day now of just, I'm not saying I've yet to do that, but I'm gearing up for that, that the fingers should not move without the elbows permission, in a way. It's almost like the foot gives permission in Tai Chi before you make the move. You got to really feel that song in the foot. It's like, let the elbow in on what you're doing. Don't go free forming out there because probably the shoulder is controlling things if that's the case. So it's a great teaching, my friend.
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your elbow is?
Exactly.
I particularly like the exercise where we were working with the breath and feeling the elbow and then exhaling and letting it go. And that really put me in touch with the yin yang energy and the difference in how they feel.
Nice. Thank you. Beautiful. Cool. Anybody else? Cut.
So for me, I noticed that my shoulders and my neck are in cahoots. Whenever my shoulders tense, my neck goes, oh, we're tensing now. And it does the same thing. So for me, we talked about it. I think you talked about it 2 weeks ago about, when you're lifting the knee one, to get that feeling where your head is floating. And for me, that's been like a life changer. Just even like sitting watching TV. Is my head floating? And when it does, the chi just go, So with this, because my neck and my shoulders are in cahoots, I would still have to, get the floaty feeling in my head. And once I got the floaty feeling in my head, then everything was one whole chi. But I had to get them both together, get them working together.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Because that's what we're talking about in the 3 pillars, right? Get all those guys, get the 3 pillars together, and then good stuff happens. we can head off in all kinds of directions. But just that simple thing of just reaching with your elbows and opening up the shoulder joints, I don't emphasize it. I talk about it all the time, but it don't really, we did a deeper dive in today and actually got the the feel of that dramatic feel. Is like, oh, and that's possible anytime, any place. Cool. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you all so much. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you,
Maria.
Maria.
Happy birthday, Maria.
Oh, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.